Alright class, today we're going to do Unit 8, Section 6, and we're going to talk about factoring to solve quadratic equations. And it's going to take us 2 parts to get through Unit 8. We'll do 1 part tonight and then the second part tomorrow night. Okay? So, let's talk about our property here. The zero product property. For every real number, and let's use A and B, if A times B, or the product of A and B, equals 0, then A equals 0 and B equals 0. So that's what this property means. If the product of A and B equals 0, then you can separate those factors. A equals 0 and B equals 0. So let's look at an example here. If the binomial x plus 3 times the binomial x minus 2 equals 0, then what we have here is we have the first binomial equal to 0 and the second binomial equal to 0. So you're going to have 2 solutions to this. So when you solve this equation, x equals negative 3, subtract 3 on both sides. When you solve this one, x equals 2. So the solution will be negative 3, 2. Okay, so let's do some of these. Alright, so we have 2 binomials. They're equal to 0. So we set each one equal to 0. And we solve these 2 one-step equations here, okay? So we subtract 5 on both sides. So x equals negative 5. Add 3 to both sides. X equals 3. Okay, on number 2, same thing. 2 binomials equal to 0, so set them separate. Okay, so when you solve these one-step equations, subtract 12 on both sides, you get negative 12. Add 12 to both sides, and you get 12. Okay, now on 3, we just have a term in a binomial, but you do the same thing. You set x equal to 0, and you set x minus 4 equal to 0. But this one's already simplified. You're trying to isolate your variable x. On this one, you want to add 4 to both sides. So your solution is 0 and 4. All right, now on 4, we've got 2 binomials. So you want to set them equal to 0. But what's different on this one, class, is you've got 2-step equations that you have to solve here. So let's isolate our variable x. Inverse of addition is subtraction. Inverse of multiplication is division. So x equals negative 7/2. Then again, you have a 2-step equation. So my solution for number 4 is negative 7/2 and 7/2. All right, I'm going to be quiet and let you do 5 and 6 on your own. If you get stuck, you can look up here. right, let's go on and go to the second page. Okay, on this one, we're going to be factoring to solve the quadratic equations. If you have a quadratic equation, remember that is your ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. You can set it equal to 0 and then factor the non-zero side to solve the zeros of the equation. So what that means, class, is we need to get 0 on one side of this equation. Set it up in your quadratic equation form. So in order to do that, we need to subtract 48 to both sides. Okay? So over here, I'm going to write the steps for you. Okay, then the second step would be to factor it. And let's see, we need to look for a greatest common factor. We don't have anything, so let's do our T-chart. 1 times a negative 48 is negative 48. So what factors? The product equals negative 48 and the sum equals negative 8. It's going to be negative 12 and positive 4. Okay, so I have x minus 12, x plus 4 equal to 0. And then our third step is to do what we just did on the first page. Use our 0 property. So we have x minus 12 equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0. So our solution here is going to be positive 12, add 12 to both sides, and negative 4. Subtract 4 on both sides. Okay? Set equal to 0, factor out, use your 0 property. Okay, so this one's already set to 0, and we need to factor out. So when I multiply, I get a positive 6, but when I add, I get a positive 5. So that's going to be 2 times 3 and 2 plus 3. All right, now that I factored, I set each binomial to 0, and I solve for x. So x is minus 2 on both sides, and minus 3. Okay? All right, on 8, I already set to 0, so we need to factor out. When I multiply, I get negative 18. When I add, I get negative 7. So negative 9 times 2 gives me negative 18. Negative 9 plus 2 gives me negative 7. So I'm going to have b minus 9 and b plus 2. Set each binomial to 0. So my solution is add 9, subtract 2. Okay, last 2. Now, this one is not equal to 0, so we need to get it equal to 0. In order to do that, I need to subtract 20 from both sides because these are inverses. Okay, then I need to factor this out. What can I multiply to get negative 20, but add to get a positive 8? Negative 10 times a positive 2 will give me negative 20. Negative 10 plus 2 will give me a negative 8. So I need to switch that. So it needs to be positive 10, negative 2, positive 10, negative 2. So we have x plus 10, and we have x minus 2. Set them both equal to 0. And then solve for x. So x is going to equal negative 10 and positive 2. Okay, let's see if y'all can do this last one on your own. If you get stuck, look up here. Class, on this one, you do have to have 0 as part of your solution because x plus 0 is one of your binomials, okay? So the solution is not just negative 7, it's negative 7 and it's 0. All right, that's it for the first part. Have a good evening.